My name is Selma Mason, and I was 24 years old when I found out my mother had ruined my credit while I was eating cold lasagna at a used car dealership. No, seriously. I was sitting across from a salesman named Gary, a man who smelled like microwave soup and wore enough cologne to qualify as indoor fog, trying to lease my first real car. I had the down payment. I had the job. I had 6 months of bank statements folded neatly in a folder because I thought being prepared meant I was finally becoming the kind of adult nobody could laugh at. What I didn't have, apparently, was a credit score that hadn't been dragged behind a truck. Gary clicked around on his crusty Dell keyboard, frowned, and said, "Huh, that one sound changed my life." I leaned forward. "Is something wrong?" He scratched his jaw and turned the monitor slightly, like he was showing me a crime scene. "You've got multiple accounts in collections, 3 cards maxed out, 1 charged off." I actually laughed because it sounded so impossible. That can't be right. I've never even had a credit card. Gary gave me that look people give you when they want to be polite but already believe you're lying. Then he pointed at the screen. My full name, my social security number, my birth date. 5 credit cards I had never touched. 2 opened when I was still in high school. And that was when the memories started lining up like witnesses. The pre-approved credit letters that used to arrive at our old house. The time my mother helped me fill out my FAFSA and told me not to worry about the confusing parts. The forms she always offered to mail for me. The little smile she had whenever I thanked her for being so organized. I was 18 and stupid. She was helpful and good with details. Apparently, she was also good at forging signatures. I left the dealership without a car. I drove home in my dying 2002 Corolla, parked outside my apartment, and sat there for 15 minutes with the engine off, staring at the steering wheel like it owed me an apology. That night, I called my mother. She answered on the 3rd ring, bright and casual. "Sweetheart, how's the car shopping going?" That was when I knew. She wasn't even going to pretend unless I forced her to. I said, "They told me my credit is trashed." There was a pause. Not long. Just long enough for guilt to breathe. "Oh, that's so strange," she said. "Are you sure it's not identity theft?" "It is identity theft, Mom." Silence. "Hers," I added. She sighed like I had disappointed her. "Selma?" "I saw the accounts. They were opened under my name while I was still in high school. You want to tell me how that happened?" She didn't deny it. "Not really. She just pulled out the same performance she always used when she got caught. Tired mother. Abandoned woman. Victim of circumstance. I was under so much stress," she said. "Your father had just left. I didn't have good credit of my own. It was for groceries and necessities." "Groceries don't cost $9,000 at Nordstrom." Her voice sharpened. "Don't take that tone with me." I hung up. That night, I froze my credit. Filed an identity theft report. Wrote letters to creditors until my hands cramped and stared at the ceiling wondering how many years of my life I was going to lose cleaning up a mess made by the woman who was supposed to protect me. And maybe that would have been the end of it. Except 6 months later, she called again. This time, she wasn't crying about groceries or stress. She wanted me to co-sign a mortgage. Not for her, for Tyler, my younger brother, the golden child, the man who had never kept a job longer than 3 weeks and once got scammed trying to sell a PlayStation online because he mailed it before getting paid. "The bank just wants a stronger credit profile on the application," Mom said, like she was asking me to bring napkins to a barbecue. "Tyler will make the payments, of course." I laughed so hard I dropped my phone onto my bed. "You want me to co-sign for Tyler after you destroyed my credit for handbags and wine club subscriptions?" "You're being dramatic," she snapped. "We're family. Families support each other." "No," I said. "Families don't ruin each other's financial futures and then come back asking for favors." "You're being selfish." She said it so smoothly, like I was the cruel one, like I had betrayed her by refusing to hand over the last clean piece of my name. I stared at my ceiling fan spinning above me, slow and useless, and something inside me finally clicked into place. My mother didn't regret what she had done. She regretted getting caught. and I was done being the obedient daughter she could use whenever her lies ran out of money. She wanted support. She was about to get a public reckoning. 2 days after I refused, I got a group text. Mom, family dinner this Sunday. Tyler has something exciting to share. Translation? Tyler was going to announce the house purchase. Everyone would clap, and eventually all eyes would drift toward me, the daughter with the rebuilt credit score they wanted to borrow. I didn't answer, but I went. Not because I wanted reconciliation, because I wanted to see how deep the delusion went. The second I walked into my childhood home, I smelled roasted chicken, fake vanilla candles, and manipulation. Tyler was already there, grinning too hard. Selma, he said, clapping my shoulder. Ready to make real estate history? I raised an eyebrow. With my credit score? He laughed. I didn't. Dinner dragged on through forced smiles and small talk until Mom finally folded her napkin and switched into what I privately called parent voice. Tyler found the perfect place, she announced proudly. 3 bedrooms, huge yard, office space for when he starts his remote position. That doesn't exist yet, I said. Tyler shifted. Mom ignored me. The bank just needs a little reassurance, she continued. And honestly, sweetheart, you rebuilt your credit so beautifully. You should be proud. Behind her. Maybe. I still got collection emails tied to accounts I never opened. I put my fork down. So let me understand this correctly, I said calmly. You used my identity to open credit cards without permission, wrecked my credit, and now want me legally attached to a 30-year mortgage? Tyler jumped in fast. Come on, it's not like I'm asking you to pay anything. No, I said, just risking my future. Totally different. Mom leaned forward. You don't have to make this into a thing. I laughed once. It's been a thing since I was 19 and got denied from my first apartment because my credit looked criminal. The room quieted. You've never even apologized, I said. Mom sighed dramatically. Because I knew you'd hold it over me forever. No, I said quietly. You never apologize because you aren't sorry. Tyler raised his hands. Okay, let's not make this huge family drama. What's your credit score? I interrupted. He blinked. What? Debt-to-income ratio? Silence. You got proof of employment for this remote job? More silence. Mom's face hardened. He's trying. Not everyone gets opportunities handed to them. That snapped something. You think I was handed opportunities? I asked. I worked 2 jobs fixing problems you created. Even the room looked uncomfortable. Mom stood. If you're going to be cruel, leave. I stood too. No problem. Then I looked at both of them. But I'm done staying quiet. I drove home shaking not from guilt, from clarity. Because suddenly I understood something. They weren't asking for help. They were asking for access. That night, I opened old email folders. Collection notices, screenshots, statements, credit disputes, police report drafts I never filed. Years of evidence. At 8:17 the next morning, I sent an email. Subject: regarding mortgage application and unauthorized use of my identity. I sent it to the mortgage officer Mom accidentally mentioned weeks earlier. CC, Tyler. CC, Aunt Linda. Inside, I explained everything. Identity theft, fraudulent accounts, my refusal to participate. And one final sentence. Any document containing my name should be considered unauthorized and potentially fraudulent. 2 hours later, the mortgage officer replied, Thank you for your transparency. We will immediately remove your information from consideration and review the matter internally. Translation? House deal dead. At 11:06 a.m., Mom called. Declined. Text arrived seconds later. Mom, you humiliated us. Another text. Mom, Tyler is devastated. Then, Mom, I hope you're happy. I stared at the messages. For years, I thought exposure would make me feel guilty. Instead, I felt air entering my lungs for the first time. But the family storm was just starting, because by evening Aunt Linda called. Then cousins. Then relatives I barely remembered. Apparently, exposing fraud was rude. Stealing your daughter's identity? Less rude. And somewhere between the sixth missed call and the seventh guilt text, I realized something terrifying. My mother really believed I was the villain, and if she was willing to destroy my credit once, what else had she done that I still didn't know about? 3 days after the mortgage collapsed, Tyler showed up at my job. I work in IT for a private company, not glamorous, but stable. The kind of job you appreciate more when you spent years rebuilding from financial disaster. He stood in the lobby wearing his usual uniform, backwards cap, wrinkled hoodie, expression halfway between guilty and annoyed. "Can we talk?" he asked. My manager looked at me. I sighed. Lunch break. Outside, Tyler shoved his hands into his pockets. "You really had to go nuclear?" I stared at him. "You were about to tie me to a 6-figure loan. You could have just said no." "I did." He looked down. "Mom's a mess." I almost laughed. "Good." His head snapped up. "What do you mean, good?" I crossed my arms. "I want her to feel what I felt when I got denied apartments, when I got rejected for financing, when I sat crying on hold with creditors explaining my own mother stole my identity." He went quiet, then quieter. "There's something else," he said. I already hated the sentence. He rubbed his palms together. "Years ago, Mom took out a student loan in your name." Everything inside me stopped. "What?" He swallowed. "When I went to community college, I failed out after 1 semester. She didn't want Dad finding out." I stared. "You knew?" "Not at first." His voice cracked. "But later I saw bills with your name." My chest tightened. "How much?" "Little over 7 grand. More now, probably." I opened my credit app right there, scrolled, and found it. A loan account buried beneath the chaos. Delinquent. Balance. $9,124. My hands went cold. All these years I thought the cards were the full story. Turns out, I had only discovered chapter 1. "You should have told me." "I know." "You only told me because you needed my name for a house." He flinched because we both knew it was true. I looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "Leave." He nodded. No argument, no excuses, just shame. That night, I created a folder. Brooks Family Fraud Documentation. Inside, screenshots, collection notices, credit reports, emails, dates, recordings, evidence. The next morning, I met my lawyer. Daniel skimmed the documents silently. When he finished, he set everything down carefully. "This is criminal fraud," he said. I stared at the table. "Do I want revenge?" He leaned back. "Wrong question." I looked up. "Do you want accountability or silence?" I answered immediately. "Accountability." So we drafted a demand letter. Every fraudulent account, every financial loss, every instance of identity theft, deadline to repay, or legal action. We served it at my mother's workplace, a dental clinic, front desk, patients everywhere. 3 hours later she called, ignored, then text started. "Mom, how could you do this?" "Mom, you're threatening your own mother." "Mom, Grandma would be ashamed. Classic order." Guilt, shame, victimhood. Then came the desperate message. "Mom, if you do this, I'll tell everyone what you did in college." I almost laughed. She meant the time I borrowed $300 from a roommate and repaid it 2 weeks later. That was her dirt. That was all she had. So I replied with one sentence. "See you in court." For the first time in my life, she had no response. A week later, my phone buzzed. Venmo notification. $9,124.23 from Mom. Memo. For past misunderstandings, Not mistakes, not fraud, misunderstandings. 3 weeks later, I found her waiting outside my apartment. She looked older, smaller, like consequences finally weighed something. I paid you back, she said quietly. You repaid money, I answered. Not damage. Her eyes filled. Can we fix this? I looked at her, really looked, then said, You mean before or after the stolen credit cards? The fake apology? The student loan? The lies? The manipulation? She cried. I didn't. Not because I hated her. Because I was finished. She handed me an envelope. A letter, she whispered. I didn't take it. I already know why you did it, I said. Why? Because you thought I'd stay quiet. I stepped toward my building, then stopped, turned back. I don't hate you, Mom. Hope flashed across her face. Then I finished. I just don't trust you. 6 months later, my credit finally passed 720. I bought a used car, in my own name. Tyler moved away. We barely speak. Amy still sends me memes and financial fraud articles. And my mother? Last Christmas, she mailed a card with one sentence inside. I hope one day you forgive me. I never answered, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't her backup plan. I was Selma Mason. And finally, that was enough.